This video is more like a vlog, um, in the sense that I'm mostly going to be talking about an interesting concept and an interesting game I had today. Now, this concept has been building for several months now, and I finally got to try it out today, thanks to the aid of a friend who will currently remain nameless. I will be referring to his character name when I talk about the actual game, which is Roland. Um, let's see here. So I had to get my book. The interesting concept, I was trying to get one of my friends who I know to be into, he's into video games and he likes games like Mass Effect and the like, and I thought he might like Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I always found it difficult to get him to try it, so I said, hey, I'll design a whole world for just you. And I did. It is a Game of Thrones, it's a D&D game campaign set in Game of Thrones. I made some obvious changes from the books, which I have not read, and I have seen all the seasons up to this point. But I made several changes. I added D&D to the mix, where I am completely using the entire known world map that the Game of Thrones is set in, including Essos and Westeros. I'm not including many of the minor houses, with the exception of maybe the Boltons, because I would like the idea of killing some of them. One in particular, as I'm sure you all can guess. Now, the Targaryens never in my world. The Targaryens never invaded Westeros. Instead, the Targaryens are not exactly human. They are a combination of dragonborns with one female dragon leading them. The female dragon is a platinum dragon by the name of Daenerys Targaryen. I thought it would be a fun little thing, to have her be that. Now, and they stayed at Valyria, which did not break apart. Now, there are other dragons out in the world, but she's the only platinum dragon. The other dragons have either carved up some parts of Essos for themselves, or they have, they're basically like dragons in traditional D&D fashion, as in they have small pockets of the world to themselves, like where they collect hoard and go on raids. Now, what I've done with some of the houses, now each of these houses rule over their respective territories. The Starks rule the North Territory, and they are human, with the exception of the Starks being lycanthropes. The main family have lycanthropes. The Lannisters rule the Westerland, as they normally do in the books. They are Sun Elves. The Baratheons rule the Stormland, and I decided to make them dwarves since Baratheons are known for being very bulky and strong. Now, they are known for being tall, but I figured, better than Goliaths. The Greyjoys rule the Iron Islands, as per usual. I decided to make them orcs, and half-orcs to suit both species having warlike tendencies. The Eren rule the Vale. They're the bird people, the Aarakocra. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. The Martells rule over Dorne and Tabaxi, and they're Tabaxi now. These races are common in their respective kingdoms, but how should I put it? They are not the only race. For example, you can have a human or a Tabaxi living in the Stormlands. It's just that these particular houses are all of the species. Now, and the Tullys ruled the Riverlands. Sorry, I had no idea what to do with the Tullys. I'm thinking of just making them human because I couldn't think of an aquatically themed race. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do with them. I was thinking of modifying the Jinsei, the aquatic. Sorry, yeah, no, the Tritons. Sorry, I was thinking of modifying the Tritons. Actually, yeah, I might do that. Okay, so yeah, I'm actually going to make the Tullys, orcs. No, no, leave it the way it is. Because then why would the Tritons have the need for ships if they can breathe and swim underwater? Yeah, never mind. Now, the biggest difficulty that was a small difficulty for me to set up the world, but one of the biggest difficulties was setting up the religions. I decided to stick to some of the more basic ones. For example, the old gods. That's the basic nature worship, which is, druids. There's no nature-based gods, like in particular, so I decided just to put them as nature. The seven. The father is a light grave domain, because again I read the Wiki, so this is me going off the Wiki. The mother is life and light. The maiden is life and knowledge. The crone is light and knowledge. The warrior is war and tempest. The smith is forge and tempest, and the stranger is death, grave, and blood domains. The drowned god is death, war, blood, and tempest. So he has the most domains associated with that god. That's Westeros. On Essos, because that's included in my game, there's the Lord of Light, which is light, tempest, war, and life. I decided to throw war in there because he seemed like the constant ideology of, like, if you don't convert, that we've been shown in the thing, like the bearded priests of Navros are war and tempest. The black goat of Quahar is blood and death. The many-faced god is death, blood, and grave. And the great stallion is war and tempest and blood. Now the great stallion is, the Dothraki religion. Now, some other things I have changed, like, again, for example, as not only the races of the houses, but also, the main houses, but also setting up so that it's not one kingdom, it's actually multiple kingdoms, as I mentioned, like, that they rule over. So, that's another interesting thing. There's just, like, unsteady peace, and, yeah, I just thought maybe it'd be fun. And so far, it's turned out to be fun. On Essos, we haven't been there yet, but again, not much has changed there, with the exception that, again, like the Targaryen Empire and the Valyrian Empire is not really a thing, but they are allies with many of the free cities and other cities nearby, in exchange for, like, a yearly tribute, The Dragonborns are fierce warriors, and their mother, there's Platinum Dragonborn, but their mother, the Platinum Dragon, the Queen herself, is not to be messed with. The Nine Hell, like, let's see. Again, I'm watching a video I've been watching this video series on, like, the lands and whatnot, and I plan to incorporate a lot of them into the world. The north, the land of the ice or Everwinter, which is, beyond the wall. That's still a thing. The White Walkers are still a thing. So are the wildlings and the dangers that lie beyond. With now the inclusion of white dragons, because white dragons are known to prefer areas of ice, and the same goes for giants. The other thing is, like, I think that's one of the main things I changed. Like, it is significantly different. There will be familiar names, thrown about. Basically, it's just a setting of me and my friends being adventurers in this setting. He is playing a fighter. I was like, he wanted to play a knight type of character, so I decided, okay, we'll start at level 3, you'll have your archetype. And he's like, okay, and I was like, okay, here's one that I recommend for playing if you're trying to be a traditional knight. The Chevalier from the Xanatar's Guide. I was like, okay, fine. He's playing it. He's playing Roland Charles, and basically he wrote a backstory. Yeah, using Xanter's guides for aid, and it's pretty interesting. His family, he grew up poor in a shack raised by his stepmother, because his just before his father died, being torn straight by animals, his mother was taken from him, as well as his sister. So he had a tough childhood. So, but eventually, a kindly old cleric decided to teach him how to fight. But due to the tragedy that befell his family, he does not worship the gods. So he only took the martial training from his cleric friend. So eventually he decided to then break off on his own. He swore loyalty to the House Baratheon, and he fought in a war against the Greyjoys. He fought in a battle, taking down many men. Eventually he was given the title of Lord and a noble. He has like a small new estate, I imagine, given his position which his other siblings live, as well as his stepmother, I imagine. My character doesn't talk to him too much, and I don't want to give too much information away. Whereas my character, he met my character in a tavern, and it was an awkward meeting. He knew I was there. When he saw me, he recognized me, and he was talking to the innkeeper, and the innkeeper was unhappy about my character being there because of his race. So he was like, okay, I'll kick him out for you. So he decided to test him by picking a fight. Now, quickly, my character actually defeated his. As his character assumed we were going to fight outside, but while his back was turned, my character used his ability. I'm playing as a Bloodhunter, Order of the Lycan, which was created by Matt Mercer, and I used one of my transformations for this fight. And we fought, and he couldn't get over my flaming weapons and werewolf ferocity. I didn't kill him. I knocked him out, and we then went on. He then said he wanted to hire my character for 5 gold to help him deal with some bandits, which we did. As we were journeying on the King's Road, I believe it's called, we came across a bunch of goblins and an insect-like creature and a bunch of wolves. Knowing that between just the two of us, we would not be able to handle it. So we decided to hide in some bushes and let them pass by, which we did, and they went by without noticing us. So we went on to the bandit camp. When we arrived, we waited till night, which became a detriment to him because he learned the hard way about dark vision. So that's another thing. Magic is very prominent in this world, unlike in Game of Thrones. So that's where some of the fun is going to be. Like the warlocks of Quart are actual warlocks. They know magic. Like they're not crazy, you know. But yeah, we managed to take down the bandit camp. Now his character was not happy because my character, being the way he is, took the deal by the literal word. He said he will deal with the bandits. So when one of the bandits was surrendering, my guy was just like, well, I was hired to deal with you, and in this type of line of work, this is what he means. Boom. So I just straight up killed the guy who was surrendering, which led to a confrontation between me and his character, which was fun. He's just going with his character. Like, we're not, like, even though he's new to D&D, he is jumping straight in to his character. Like, his character was not happy about it because he wanted to interrogate the bandit, because he's interrogating every bandit he can find in hopes of finding information about his mother and sister who are missing. My character was like, hey, you hired me to deal with the bandits. I dealt with them. You didn't say anything about interrogating beforehand. So, but eventually he's like, okay, fine, I'll pay you another 5 gold if you help me find them. So basically, it's a fun way of taking the story. Like, the adventuring hook is his character heard about my character and he's hiring him out. So my character is basically just a hireling that is controlled by me, and who's working for him. Now, that's where we left off because D&D Beyond was shut down for maintenance. So I was like, oh god, we'll have to stop here. Which, in case my friend then started to play Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale Games. Now let's talk about my character a bit. Besides from what I mentioned, his backstory is quite interesting. His backstory is also quite interesting for doing a bunch of roles, and it was tragic as hell. Very fitting to a Game of Thrones character. My character is from Essos, from the city of Braavos, and he, at a very young age, he had to fight to survive, and he hated. All he had to his name was his name, Hugh Conway. Eventually decided to escape Braavos. He snuck onto a ship, which brought him west. He decided to head north, as far as north as he could, because he wanted to see. Before he died, he wanted to see the wall. So he started heading up north, sneaking around, stealing, and doing whatever it took to survive. Upon reaching the north, he came across a bunch of dire wolves, which nearly killed him. He fought them off just long enough for Ned Stark to arrive. Ned Stark, impressed by a young tiefling to survive in the cold for this long, decided to take him in and teach him. Upon discovering his last name, the Maester of House Stark discovered that the Conway was an old ancient family. It's good that the Conways were an ancient family that were loyal to Starks, but eventually fled during one of the first wars between the Seven Kingdoms, escaping to Essos, where they eventually, generation upon generation, they now led to being tieflings. Decided to not punish the tiefling for his ancestors' misgivings, decided to offer back the title. Not the lands yet, but just the title of that came with the Conway name. Agreeing to do so, he then further offered to prove his worth back by acting as one of the royal bodyguards of the King of the North. Agreeing to the task, Hugh was trained to fight, properly trained to fight, alongside Ned's children. Eventually, he was offered the special gift known as becoming a blood hunter, whereas the Stark family, upon reaching adulthood, they're given the full-fledged lycanthrope, so that they have the direwolf. Now, this is not a normal lycanthrope. This is they become alpha werewolves. A unique genome of the lycanthropy virus. Being bitten by a blood hunter that was already in service, Hugh was trained to he went through blood magic rituals to modify his lycanthropy slightly. He now acts as a blood hunter, someone who is basically to wander the lands of the North to mete out the King's justice and to help those of the North, the people of the North. Similar to the Magi from Assassin's Creed Origins, or the Witchers, except instead of being loyal to no one, they are loyal to the King. Now, upon wanting to see the world a bit more, he asked Ned could he explore the world, and Ned agreed, because he was such a young age. He said he'll give him 3 years before he had to return to keep up with his duties. So, that's how my character ventured far south to King's Landing to meet with Winard and to accept this new job. Maybe it's only been 6 months since he left. Will he return? Or will he or will he decide to head back to Essos with the gift of being a blood hunter and carve out his own destiny? Who knows? So far, I am currently just operating as this humble mercenary who seems to take the contracts as they're worded, not as implied. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing more with my friend and seeing how this Game of Thrones conversion sorry, D&D, sorry, mashup, not a conversion. This D&D Game of Thrones mashup is. But yeah, it was a fun game, and I'm hoping to set up my character sheet on a different app so that way I don't have to worry about goddamn, you know, D&D Beyond shutting down on me again. But yeah, that is it for this time. This is Wolf and Ninja signing out. May the force be with you, and remember, roll for initiative.